Hello, and welcome to Bad Lit Friends, the writing podcast that barely knows what it's doing. My name is Meagan Thompson-Mann, and this is my co-host.
Hi, I'm Kirk Rafferty.
And you're here for episode 16. It is part 3 of our Can't Miss series. So you want to write a
Mhm.
novel, really? And this week we're going to be talking about finishing the novel and what happens when you actually theoretically finish your book. Trust me, you're never really done until it's printed.
That's right.
Yeah,
Books are
so
just abandoned, never
they
finished.
are. They are. But they're loved sometimes, even though they're abandoned. So, just for a quick recap, part 1, we talked about planning. Part 2, we talked about the writing process and getting from putting your pen or your fingers on the keyboard for the first time to getting through to the middle, getting into your action. And today we're going to be hopefully finishing this up. We shall see. Nobody wants a part 4, trust me.
Get it
So
out of your system tonight, Meagan, because
I
we're
will.
not
I
doing a
will.
part 4.
Yeah. So let's catch up a little bit on what we're doing with the writing.
All right, sounds good.
Shall I go?
Sure, because
Okay.
I got nothing.
You,
Spoiler alert, I got nothing.
oh, no. Um, Spoiler alert, I have something, which is that tonight, for reals, after having announced that I was actually done with my book on the last podcast, I was just doing a final read through for typos, and I discovered some holes. Having read through the book, I thought completely from end to end.
No.
Very small, very small. In this, I will be done after we're done recording. I have 2 chapters to go through, and literally all I've been doing is plugging very small holes, or I have found words that I liked going through the last time and discovered felt a little clunky, or that I was rushing things a little bit too much. I've added in total in this pass through 65 words. That's it.
Hmm.
Yeah, these are very small holes
Yeah,
indeed.
it's not bad
But
at all.
tonight, November 13th, 2025, will be the For Reals end, and I am sending it out to my beta readers tonight.
Fantastic.
Yes, and then I will be taking a little break, which we will be talking about as part of this is the importance of taking a little break when you finish. And I will be taking a little break from writing for a couple of weeks to be with my mom, who is flying in from Connecticut tomorrow.
Yeah, friend of the show.
Friend of the show. So you said that you have been up to nothing writing-wise. Round of
Ye
applause.
Thank you. I'm playing with about 3 different outlines, trying to figure out which direction I wanna take this story. And I really am just kind of in a doldrum right now where I'm just not sure about it. My daughter Rylan, friend of the show,
Friend of the
has
show.
has has suggested that I write a novella, and that's
Mm,
actually a little intriguing to me. She was like, "Yeah, write a novella, and maybe you can pitch it to like an indie publisher or something." Just to get your name out there, and so I don't that is just like off the that's off the cuff. I really don't know that I'm going to write a novella, but maybe there's a lot of cool little options you have with a novella. Anyway, I'm completely digressing to just say right now I'm futzing around with outlines, not sure that any of them are going to come together. Maybe one of them will come together and I'll actually start writing the filthy thing, but right now, that's what I'm doing.
make it really filthy.
Yes, yes.
So, I guess we should get down to brass tacks and kick this off.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So, let's talk about what is involved in actually finishing a book. Ha! Yeah. One of the things about finishing a book is that you're never really finished. Yeah. You have a bunch of false finishes. So, let's talk about the getting to the first false finish. So, the last part of the book, 25% of the book is, in my experience, having written one book, the hardest part, right? For me, it was. I loved my story, but I was absolutely sick of it by the end. And I had actually already written my last chapter about halfway through drafting the book. So
Mhm.
I already knew how it ended. But now I was trying to figure out, how do I get from this midpoint to the end?
Mhm.
Like, this is I talked before about my soggy third. I also had a, like, soggy 2/3 where I was like, "What am I doing, and how do I get there?" I knew that there were beats that I wanted to hit, but I it was like I had 0 map, and just it was vibes only. I also had a lot of self-doubt during this time, like, "Okay, maybe I'm just one of those people who gets 2/3 of the way through a book and that's it. I can't actually finish it." But I also had the benefit of having an ending that I was happy with. And although I have revised that last chapter multiple times, including a serious rewrite in this last revision, it's still the same. It still is basically the same because I was happy with how the book ended.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what was your experience like finishing that last section of your both of your books that you've done?
Yeah, my first book, I had an ending in mind, and it came out about the way I expected it would come out. The funny thing is I don't know how much this spoils it, if this book will ever see the light of day anyway. I had one of the main plot points in my first novel was a letter, and it was I didn't reveal the contents of the letter until the very end. I had no idea through the entire novel what the contents of that letter were. I knew it was important. I set it up to be important. And as I am closing on the final pages of the book, I still had no idea what was in that letter. And so I put off writing the ending, literally the last probably 10 pages book. I put it off for weeks because I could not figure out that letter. And then one day it occurred to me exactly what was in that letter, and I finished the book. So
Wow.
that was a weird experience. I don't expect that would be a common experience. With my second book here, I had an absolute idea for the end of this novel. I I knew how this novel was going to end before I knew how it was gonna start. I wrote the novel. I got about 80% of the way through the novel, and I realized that ending was not gonna work for various reasons. I would love to discuss these things, but I don't wanna spoil my ending. So I did change the end, but it wasn't a hard thing to do. It was, it's that thing that we all talk about, which is, our characters speak to us, right? And at some point, my characters didn't obviously speak to me, but they direction that my characters were taking me were like, "This ending you have set up is no bueno." So and it wasn't a huge change, it was just a change, and so I made that change. But overall, endings tend to be hard, and even famous authors have a hard time with endings. Stephen King famously, horks up his endings quite often. Some of his most beloved books and the endings fall a little bit flat. So, if an author like Stephen King has a hard time coming up with a satisfying ending,
Yeah.
don't be sad that you're having a hard time finishing it as well.
No, you just join the club. It is hard. Yeah, you're not gonna you are almost certainly not gonna stick it in your first draft.
And it's hard even when you know what the ending is,
Yeah.
it's still hard, and even if you don't have that experience that I had where I realized the ending isn't gonna work, even if you come all the way to the end, it's still hard to stick that landing, right?
Mhm.
You can even up to the very last page know exactly how it's gonna end, but to actually stick it and make it a satisfying end is pretty hard.
Yeah,
Almost as hard as starting.
we're not all Mary Lou Retton. Some of us are just tumbling, and that's okay, especially in the first draft. And I have problems with endings, and that's okay. But the scariest thing for me about writing this book was realizing, like, this is not episodic. This is a book, and books have endings. So,
Yeah,
holy
yeah.
shit. And I remembered being back in high school the last time that I kinda seriously wrote, and how many problems I had with endings, but I got better at it because I was writing a lot of short fiction, and so you have to end it, and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have to end it pretty soon. So, I kinda tapped into some of the strategies that I had back then, which were pretty much along the lines of, number 1, don't think that you have to be perfect in the beginning. Number 2, have a good idea of where you're going, and as you said, be flexible. And number 3, be economical. You can tie everything up without it sounding like an info dump, and you do that by threading the ending throughout the final chapters. It doesn't all need to be in the last chapter. You're winding down over that arc of the last maybe 2, 3 chapters. You're tying things up. You have more space in a novel than you have in a short story. Take advantage of it. You have all these words. You can start tying things up earlier. So why not? But the most important thing to remember is that the ending does actually have to work, because if you notice it not working, everyone else is going to notice it not working as well.
And you mentioned episodic, and this isn't quite the same, but it makes me think about one thing that I have heard from authors who want to do a series, and this is common in like science fiction or fantasy, is you'll get an author that says, I don't really have to have a clean ending in book 1 because it continues in book 2, right? So once again, we're talking about traditional publishing, right?
Yes.
Maybe you can get away with that with self-publishing, although I still think that every book should be self-contained.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And so, no, you can't skip the ending.
Yeah.
And the reason is that when you pitch your first book, even if you envision it as the first of a trilogy, an agent is going to want a book that is complete in and of itself. And yes, you can, if it gets picked up by a publisher and you can talk to that publisher and say, "Hey, I have 2 more books that are sequels," and maybe they'll take that. But when you're trying to get an agent, for all that agent knows, that is the only book you will ever be able to sell. And that's because for all that publisher knows, that's the only book you'll be able to sell. So they're not gonna put out a book that is a cliffhanger, right?
No.
And then nobody buys it, and then, they're stuck with this cliffhanger book that doesn't have
Yeah, and then
any,
you end up with a
the
lot
rest of
of
the series.
readers who are really unsatisfied,
Yeah,
who might even say that they feel duped, and
and we talked about that in our query letter
yeah,
podcast a little while ago, but yeah, basically when you're pitching for an agent, you're pitching like this is the book.
yeah.
So you have to have an in for that too.
My colleague Kelsey was talking to me the other day about this book that she read, where she got to the end and she said it felt incomplete. And it was indeed part of a series. And she said it felt like this was a bigger arc, and I got to the end and I wasn't done. And she said it made it made me feel like I liked the book even less, and I didn't even like it that much. So, yeah, it is you're writing for yourself, but if a lot of us are also writing for readers. So you need to be thinking about, what is my reader going to be satisfied with? You need to have some sort of complete plot. But coming back to what we were talking about before, each book, I believe Kirk also believes, because he is right thinking, that each book should be thematically complete. So get an ending. And as we said before, it doesn't have to be perfect on your first draft. So, some strategies for finishing when you feel like, oh my God, I just can't write any more of this, but I actually want to finish it. One of the things that I did to help me was I made myself accountable. Kirk was really, really important in getting me to finish this book, and has been on all of the times that I have finished this book. And that has been many times that I have finished this book. But he has been a hard taskmaster. I need somebody to tell me to do the things that I actually want to do, because it's scary. When I'm done, then I'm done, and I love these characters, and, oh my god, I've gotta step away. You know what was great about stepping away for 6 months? I had perspective when I came back to actually fix all of the problems.
Yeah.
But being accountable, for me, really helped. Another thing is reminding yourself that you have started something really amazing. It doesn't have to be perfect. It only has to be done. And done can be anything it means to you.
And what like we talked about, the last episode, your first draft can be garbage, and that includes your ending. Your ending can be garbage too.
Yeah.
Like, finish that first draft. Get that first draft in, even if your ending is just placeholder, finale happens here. Like, do what you need to do, have a garbage ending to the point where now you can start really editing and prettifying this book and turning it into that wonderful gem, that it is not quite yet.
Yes, remember, there is no garbage can't, there is only garbage can.
That's right.
Very important. And one thing that can help, and it worked for me, was skipping forward to write the ending and then filling in the gaps. Was
Mhm.
a little a little difficult, to have this kind of mushy, kind of second half, but I knew where I was getting. I didn't just see the finish line. I knew exactly what it looked like. So now I just had to figure out, how do I get there? And I've
Can I tell you
done this
something?
before. Yeah, please.
I am not a superstitious person by any means whatsoever, but I have this aversion because I know some people write their endings first, right? Or they'll write their ending at some point before they've finished the book. I cannot bring myself to do that. I have a very clear idea sometimes what my ending is, and I feel like I should just get that down on paper while it's clear in my head, but I don't. I won't do it. I don't it just doesn't it feels wrong to me. I feel like I'm, like, messing with the character's temporal timelines.
I need to start writing down the list of Rafferty's rules of writing. Can add this one to that list. Along with too many exclamation points.
Mhm,
Only 2 adverbs in
that's
every
right.
chapter.
Never mind
But
how many I have in my chapters.
we'll never talk about they were you're amongst friends, safe space. But, yeah, I mean, for me, writing the ending absolutely helped. But it really is whatever you're comfortable with, whatever it is that's gonna be the thing that gets you to, quite frankly, one of the best moments. It's when you write 2 words, "The end."
Yeah, I don't write the end. I
Oh,
don't write the end.
good! So I always write "The end," and then I write whatever version it is, and then I write the date and the time so that I can kinda keep track of how long it takes me, especially when I was doing the first revisions, and I think it was 5 revisions straight through, like,
Mhm.
finished the first big one, took me 2.5 months from, the gargantuan 144,000 word manuscript. And then the next revision took me 2.5 weeks, and then the next one took me, I guess, like, a week, and then it was down to, like, 3 days, 1 day. It just kept decreasing. Ideally, that's what you should be doing, and then this full developmental revision took me 2.5 months, and when I said I was gonna do it, I was like, "It's gonna take me 2.5 weeks." Ugh, sweet summer child. No. No, 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 no. No, no, no. What took me 2.5 weeks was reading through my revision. And then this last bit that I'm doing, the ultra fine grade sandpaper treatment is 2.5 days. It's going to take some time, but for me, writing the end is boom, done. And for me, I take a picture of it, take a little, screen grab, and I save it along with my subfolders for each of my revisions so
Yeah,
that
nice.
I can remember. And the last one was done at 10:15 on a Saturday morning, and I was like, and now it's 10:15 on a Saturday morning, and I have to clean my entire house because my mom is coming to visit. And it felt like a real felt it really felt anticlimactic because who finishes something at 10:15 on a Saturday morning? I mean, God, it is
Yeah, that's like finishing a book should be like a 2 a.m.,
it really should.
thing, yeah.
It couldn't be like, "Wow, I'm gonna open that bottle of champagne in the fridge." I mean, I could've, but I didn't. I made myself a cup of herbal tea, and then I put on my rubber gloves and started cleaning
That is
baseboards.
not the Hemingway way. Let me tell you the Hemingway way.
I do not think that Ernest Hemingway
He
put on rubber
he
gloves and cleaned baseboards.
No, no, I think he
No.
put, like, filled a coffee mug with bourbon or something.
Probably, probably. Anyway, so now that you've typed the end, guess what? You finished it, and this is a
And
huge
congratulate
achievement.
yourself. Give yourself a
Yeah,
pat on the back, fill a mug, with bourbon, do whatever
or
you
tea,
you think you need to do, or tea.
or tea. And remember, most people never finish a book. You've done something super
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, so you
Yeah,
did it.
yep, and even if it
You're
sucks,
in the club,
yeah, even if it sucks, you're in the club,
right?
and even if you finish, you're in the club. You did something. So, which brings us to what you need to do after you are done, which is you need to take a break. You're like,
You gotta walk away
yeah,
from it.
walk
And
away.
the temptation is very strong at this point to just jump in and start
Mhm.
editing.
Mhm.
I've done that and I've had mixed results. So
Mm.
I don't endorse it, and I don't do it anymore. I really do take a break now, for my this latest novel. I walked away for a couple of weeks, and I came back, like, itching and raring to go,
Yeah.
and I felt energized, and I felt like I was seeing these words for the very first time,
It's very
and that's
cool,
the
isn't it?
space you wanna be in. It's very cool. Yeah, it's almost
Yeah.
like somebody else wrote this garbage, and
Yeah.
now I need to fix it.
Who the hell was this asshole? Yeah, that was my experience. After I finished book 1, I did one edit. I think I took a week or 2, not a full 2 weeks off, and then before I plunged into the first big edit. It was helpful. I kept writing, but I was working on stuff for my writing group, but I was not working on this book. Ideally, now I would have taken longer that I took. I think I probably would have taken closer to a month. It was, I think, not enough time. It was enough time to do some of the nuts and bolts work that I had to do in terms of
Mhm,
cutting the book down, but it was not enough time. This full revision, I had put the book to bed, what, like, I guess a year before I came back to it, and I'd done, like, the last revision 6 months before. I had not read the thing in 6 months, and wow, I had a different view of it. I could
mhm,
see it more clearly, and I could see what the problems were and why, even though I was getting full requests when I was querying, why I wasn't converting any of these.
mhm,
And I was able to be a harsher critic of myself while still giving myself a lot of grace. I was a lot more knowledgeable as well, having read a lot about doing revision work a lot and also reading a lot about pacing because I understood that my major problem was pacing in the first half of the book. So, 6 months away from even having read it gave me that space to go to look at it as if it were strange because I had been so close to it for so long, and also because I had been working in book 2 for so long, I was fully in that world. And even though there is some crossover, there's one character who crosses over between the 2 books. That's a character at different ages, so in many ways, he's not the same person. So I was able to have a lot more perspective, and it was really valuable. Also, taking a break is good because your brain needs some rest. You've been thinking big thoughts for too long.
yeah, for
So,
sure. During that time frame, you can be writing something else. You could be writing a short story or the next book or whatever. But if you don't feel like it, like, don't push yourself on it because, yeah, your brain does need some rest sometimes from the writing.
yeah.
So don't feel bad if you're not writing right after you've finished a book.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be writing while my mom is visiting, but I have a new comp to read, and
Nice.
yeah, so I'm psyched. I've read the first couple of chapters. I'm like, this is such a good comp. So I'm actually gonna take this 2 weeks that I'm taking off to find new comps because comps age, and I realized that at least one of my comps needs to go. So I'm picking up new ones,
Awesome.
and yeah, so you know, and you can do things like that you haven't been able to do for a few months, 6 months, a year, like, I don't know, hang out with your friends, see your family, take a bath, all those good things. So, now that you've finished it, and now that you've taken a break, what's next?
More drinking.
More drinking? Yeah. So, you should read your book. You should read it from
Yeah,
start to finish and
yeah.
read like a reader. Put your reader glasses on, not your editor glasses on, and take some notes. They can be vibes based, they can be, maybe a little bit more, but you're not taking huge, copious notes. You're trying to see, does my book work? Right? You're trying to see what works in it, what isn't working, what does it make you feel? What did you intend to make yourself feel?
Mhm.
Because sometimes you don't. Does your plot actually make sense? Do you have any huge holes? Don't worry about the small ones right now. I had huge holes that needed to be filled. Are your characters consistent? Do they start blending into each other? Do you start off with a good sense of who everybody is, but that kind of falls away over time? You know, how's your pacing? Were you bored? Where were you bored? And what surprises lay within? So, yeah, you will find surprising things and not typos. And these can be good and bad surprises. Good surprises like, "Holy shit, I absolutely nailed that." And when you read that, remember it. Remember how good that feels. Or when you're reading through and you realize that you have been doing interesting things with language, or you've been linking, themes through in your book without even noticing that you've been doing it. It's just happened. There's beautiful flow. Note it and remind yourself that you are capable of doing these brilliant things.
Yeah, you will notice, and your beta readers, which we'll discuss in just a few minutes, your beta readers will notice themes running through your book that you had never even thought of. And the correct response to that always is, "Oh, yes, of course. That's exactly what I was intending to do."
I'm so glad you noticed that.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. You must be an exceptional reader.
Yeah, I'm always shocked when I go back through and I'm like, must be writing subconsciously or something like that because they're I make these things work. And I mean, look, I'm no Hemingway with my tumbler of bourbon. Look, nobody's gonna ever accuse me of being Hemingway. I have too many words. But I am capable of doing cool things. I'm not gonna say great things, but I'm capable of doing cool things. And my advice to people listening who are writing is you are capable of doing good things, and you should note where you do it and remind yourself that you are capable of doing cool things because
Mhm.
there are going to be so many times when you are not and you are stuck. You need to remember that you can do these cool things. You've done it before, you can do it again. So be kind to yourself, right? Not just being kind to yourself that you've made all these mistakes and you should give yourself grace, but also be kind to yourself in remembering that you are capable of cool things.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
I'm not being you know what? That sounded really sarcastic. I was not
No,
being
it's fine.
sarcastic. That was honestly beautifully said.
So, so next stop on the I just finished a book express is getting feedback from other people. Now, you
Yeah.
might do this afterwards. You might do an edit or two or four before you start getting feedback. But at some point you're going to need to have other people's eyes on this manuscript.
Yeah. And that's really hard, especially if it's your first book. You are feeling all kinds of insecurity about this book. And you are a raw nerve, just thinking about anybody even dare having a helpful suggestion, let alone a criticism. And so this is probably one of the most difficult steps in writing is to actually get your book out to some portion of the world. So, good luck with that.
Yeah, I'd go one step further. I think this is, in some ways, harder than publishing your book because when you are publishing to the world, you're not going to hear from most of those people. When you are sending it out to your critique partners or your beta readers, you are actively eliciting and soliciting feedback. You
Yeah,
are
yeah.
asking for people to shoot their arrows at you.
Dare
And
I say you are invading the reader space.
oh, we're going to talk about that in a second. But yes, you are invading the reader space and you are doing it for your own good. You tell yourself, this is all for my
Mhm.
own good. And you know that there are going to be things about your precious baby that don't hit. And so you need to be ready to hear some stuff that isn't nice. Like even when it's good feedback and helpful feedback, it can hurt. And that is part of the process. You have to, I say this as somebody who is a very delicate child when it comes to getting feedback, but you're going to need to get it because you're going to need to have other eyeballs on this telling not in terms of like typos and stuff like that, but is this a readable book? Because yeah,
I mean, I would say even if you're self-publishing,
but
you need
ideally,
eyes on it.
yes. But if you are
Yes.
completely deluded and you are going to put it up on, Kindle,
I mean, yes, you're physically able to, right?
what you're doing by asking for feedback is you are looking for patterns. Because one person telling you that this character didn't work for them, and hopefully specifically why that character
Mhm.
didn't work for them, that's just a data point. But if you get multiple people telling you the same thing or similar things, then that's actual feedback that you can and you probably should implement, right?
Mhm.
So there's a difference between this isn't for me and this doesn't work, period, like at all.
You at least need to consider it.
Yeah.
It's very possible that, you've got 3 beta readers and they all say the same thing and you reject that.
Mhm.
You're
Mhm.
the author, you're welcome to do that,
Yeah.
but you should at least consider if it's, good feedback. Strangely enough, none of my beta readers have ever had good feedback. I've had to reject all of it. No, I'm just
Interesting.
kidding.
I like it when people tell me when things aren't working right because I like to be able to figure out how to fix them. You're looking for specific things like not just like I liked it or I didn't like it, right? You're looking for things like how is my pacing? I keep talking about pacing, but it is a problem for me. How what do you think about this character? I was struggling. I've talked about it before. I was struggling with a character who was too nice. I'm about to send this book, even though I'm going to be querying it, I'm sending it out to my betas at the same time. And one of the questions I'm going to ask them is, do you think that this character has enough of an edge to him while still being a very supportive person? Does he now have enough of an edge to make him more realistic? Because
Mhm,
that is something that I was concerned about
mhm,
before the big revision. So you wanna find out, like, is my book confusing to people? And if it is, where is it confusing?
mhm,
You wanna know what did people like? And what did they love? Like, what sat with them? I love it when my readers tell me, like, "I keep thinking about your characters." Like, I I think about them existing off of the page. For me, that is the ultimate endorsement that I have created characters that are so real to other people that they have completely separate lives in other people's heads. Like
yeah,
that for me is like, okay, that
it's
I've
very
got
cool.
character down, right? So I'm not going to be too concerned with characters, except for this one character. But in general, the characters aren't the problem, it's the pacing. Okay, great. That's the kind of information you want. So you're not looking for what'd you think? you know, but just be specific, ask for specific feedback.
I think it's important to have the beta reader experience as kind of unified as possible.
Mhm.
You want each in my opinion anyway, you want each of your beta readers to be under the same I guess, in the same mindset, like, to have them looking for the same thing. So, you know, I went so far as having I don't think I'll go quite this granular anymore, but when I first started doing beta readings, I had a questionnaire that was like at the end of each chapter, was
Oh,
like, "What did you think, of this chapter?" Whatever, and what think I found out that most readers just weren't filling out, like, that portion of it because I think
mm,
it was too much. So, that you do have to kinda straddle between too much and too little. Like, if you just say, "What did you think of my book?" You're gonna get terrible feedback. But if you ask concise questions, I think you get better feedback.
Okay.
Is my completely unsolicited.
No, it was totally solicited. I asked you for it.
That's true, you did. That's totally my solicited opinion.
You may be in a writing group. We're gonna talk a little bit about that in a moment. Your writing group members, for me, they have been critical in getting book 1 into the even into the small world that it's in, where it's about to go out to betas, because I read every single chapter as I went along, and they
Mhm.
gave me feedback as we went along, and I was constantly incorporating their changes as we did it, but that's the way that I write, and for a lot of people, it's just not gonna happen that way. Critique partners, my writing group members also function as my critique partners too because we're trading our feedback as well. Uh, what do you do? If you have done these things, you've taken some space, you've read through your book, you have made some revisions, you have sent it out to your third, fourth, 18th set of at least 10 beta readers. What do you do if your book is broken at the end of all of this? And what does it mean for a book to be broken?
Yeah, and I will tell you that there's a very good chance your book isn't broken. You are just suffering under the same thing that I suffer under whenever I finish a book is I think it's garbage. My first drafts are garbage, but I'm talking about like after multiple edits. There comes a point where I just think I've wasted 8 months of my life writing something really terrible. Everybody has that. Chances are your book is not shitty. It is not broken. Having said that, you could have some broken aspects of your book. Why tell us what those are?
See, having never had a broken book, I can't speak from experience, but it might be broken if you've given it to betas and there are multiple betas who are confused. And when I say confused, not in the sense of I'm confused about this character's motivation in this particular chapter, right? Or I'm a little bit confused with this subplot. It is, I am confused about this book, full stop. Like, I don't understand what's happening in it. I don't understand anybody's motivation. I can't see like a linear plot or even a plot that kind of that is nonlinear that makes sense to me and you're not trying to do something experimental. Your concept doesn't work. You've tried to write in a genre and you've come out in something totally different. And you're not defying genre expectations in a way that makes sense. You haven't written a crossover. You've just written something totally different, or you just fucking hate your book. And just straight up, and not like, "I'm sick of it," but just like, "Wow, okay, yeah."
And I mean, it is possible to write a broken book, like you say. Like you wanted to write a sci-fi and you didn't understand the genre. Or like the example that comes to my mind always is you wanted to write a romance. And you wrote a romance with an unhappy ever
Yeah,
after,
yeah,
right? Like something like that where you've just fundamentally misunderstood the assignment.
yeah,
And in that case, yeah, you have a lot of fixing to do. I do kind of think that no book probably is 100% broken. Like, no book is ever at the point where there's nothing you can do to salvage it. At
yeah,
the very least, you can take pieces of that book and incorporate it into a new book where you do finally understand the genre or whatever the broken part of it is. But going into it, when you feel like your book is just irredeemably broken, I can almost guarantee you it's not
yeah,
irredeemably broken. It needs fixing. It's sorta like if your book turns out to be a Cybertruck, that's a problem, and you probably should just burn it.
yeah, I agree with this.
But the chances that you wrote a Cybertruck are almost 0. You probably wrote, like, a Toyota Corolla, that has, like a rattly tailplate, I don't know, like a rattly undercarriage or something, right? And you need to take it into the garage, and you need to fix it up. So that's
Yeah.
probably what you did.
I think your example of writing a not romance novel is actually a really good one because there's a lot that you can do with that, right? That a there are bones for something else there. Maybe you wrote a thriller with romantic elements. Maybe you wrote, a mystery. Maybe you wrote gothic fiction. You might have written something totally different, but you're not fully in that genre either,
Yeah.
and yet you
I
haven't done a crossover. You could
I
you can just redo it.
I I thought I was writing romance, and it turned out I was writing body horror. Yeah. You could, you
It
know
happens to the best of us, It's many such cases. But you can cannibalize those parts for something else.
Sure.
Why not?
But again, I don't think most times that's necessary. I think most of the times your book is salvageable. You're just having a moment. We all have that moment,
Yes,
and
yes.
chances are, you just need some overhauling.
And you probably need some space from the book too. And, you need to figure out whether or not this is something that's just gonna go on the shelf or it's worth revising. So,
Yeah,
if your core concept is solid or you are still excited about being in this world, go ahead and do it. I would say, if you wanna do it and you think you can do it, even if you don't have all of the tools yet, try. You just give it some space though, because
mhm,
you're too close. I cannot say more about getting perspective on your words, because when you get too close to them, you're either too wedded to them or the opposite, where you're too divorced from them, but not in the
sure.
right way.
I will go ahead and, I will contradict myself and say that there's also no shame in shelving a book.
Yeah.
If you're at a point where you just really don't know what you can do to fix this book, it's okay to shelve it. I used to have boxes of shelved attempts at books. And any author will tell you, if I listen to a lot of podcasts, you listen to a lot of podcasts. Author interviews, you will inevitably hear about that one book that will never see the light of day, right?
Mhm.
Any
Mhm.
any author will tell you about that. It's okay to shelve a book. I would say make a heroic effort to revive it, but if at some point, like you say, you've lost your passion for that book or you just don't know what to do with this book right at this time, it's okay to shelve it. I would say though, like get back up on that horse and write your next book.
Yeah, especially if you have actually finished this book and, it's
Mhm,
not
mhm,
finishing the book and walking away, I would say I don't think that's a big problem. I've done enough of those. But if you finished it and you've been through all of that hard work and creativity, like, just think about it. Even if you just
mhm.
need to walk away, you've done something really amazing. And there's no shame in shelving it, but there's also no shame in coming back to it, years later. There are, as Kirk just said, like there's so many authors who have done just that. And think about how, like, it seems like every year or so, some famous dead author, they're like, we found that manuscript that she was always talking about in her diaries about
I'm pretty
how
sure that's how I'm gonna be published is like, I'll be 30 years in the ground and one of my, grandchildren will discover my manuscript and
and
they'll
then
make the money and
subtly
stamp
rework
me.
it, right? Yeah,
Yeah. They'll yellow face me. That's what they'll do, bastards.
so, we have a whole podcast about revisions that we did fairly recently, so we won't get into it, but if you are gonna go move forward, you are gonna have to do a revision, listen to our podcast.
Yeah,
As
we talked a
somebody
lot about
We talked a
revisions.
lot about revisions. It's a huge topic, and, I've just gone through it, and you're gonna be going through multiple drafts, and I had 8 in the end, which was more than I thought, but I don't care. It was ready when it was ready.
Mhm.
You'll know when it's ready. And you'll also think that it's ready and it's not. So but again, like, seriously, no shame in how long it takes for you to get it to where it is done. It's you. This is your thing. You control it, right? So I would recommend listening to our podcast and also be kind to yourself during revisions. You may also fall back in love with your book. That's what happened to me, which was like the best situation to have, because now I'm really enthusiastic about it going back into the querying trenches. Because last time when I was doing it, I recognize now I had a kind of feeling about it, which is why I only queried like about 25 to 30 agents, because I think I knew it wasn't ready. But now I'm like, this mofo is ready. and I love it, and it's really good. And I think that will actually come through this time. So,
Amazing.
yeah, I know, it feels great. So, when you are done with the revision, say it is done. Like, as I said on Saturday, said it was done, immediately started cleaning baseboards, and walked away from it for a day and a half before I started rubbing the sandpaper over it. But when it's done tonight, for reals, it is done, 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 done. So remember that you have done your best, and it is time to move on to book 2, novella, short works, whatever haikus, copy, whatever it is, shopping lists. Move on. What comes later, that is a topic for multiple other podcasts because it is about some of which we've talked before about like querying, but also publishing. And if you are a listener who is an indie author, self-pubbed, we want to talk to you. This is me and Kirk saying, please contact us because we are not in that space and we want to know more about it and we want to interview you
Absolutely.
because if you are self-publishing, you have so much more control over what happens next, but at the same time, you have so much work to do. And I'm really curious about this. It is a very different skill set than querying, which
It
we've
is
gone
the
over.
only reason that I don't self-pub. I'm just lazy as hell.
Yeah,
Self-publishers put a ton of work
yeah,
into they earn every single penny they get. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I'm busy. I'm really that's why I do a
Well,
podcast.
that's the thing, they're busy too, right? And yet, they still manage to wear all these hats, and so,
I don't know how they
like
do it.
yeah, I don't either. I am in awe, I am impressed, and
Yeah.
I wish I could do it.
Well, ask us in a year about where we are, and
Right.
if you are indie and you come on, you may get us to drink the Flavor Aid on this one and, join your cult. But right now I am in trad I gotta at least give it a shot. That's my feeling about it is I've gotta do this and see if I can do this. And if it isn't with this book, maybe it's with the next book.
Sure,
But,
sure.
you know, and if that isn't it, I know that there are people who wanna read this book because there are people who are right now waiting to read this book, so I know that it's going to hit with some people, this is a note that I have down is there is a hybrid approach, which is what I've just been talking about, which is querying for a while and then self-publishing, right? And there's also the reverse of that, which is and it's pretty it's becoming more common where self-published authors are building up fan bases, and then they're going trad pub.
Mhm,
They're
mhm.
getting their back catalog published. There's no shame in following any of these paths. It's what is right for you and what is right for your books. So, and that's theoretically your cliffhanger for book 2, the end, or is it? But it needs to be thematically complete, but,
But now you should have everything you need to start writing your book and
yeah,
finishing it.
yeah. So
So go you.
go you. We've both finished a first book, and is there anything that you would do differently?
Oh, yeah. My first bo so I discussed this in the previous podcast about how I learned to just write forward. It saved me so much time. It took me so long to figure out. My first book took me way too long, several years to write that book because I would go back and I would edit and then I'd make a little forward progress, but not much. And I'd go back and edit it. And so, yeah, I would definitely change things up on that score. Seven Drafts by Allison K. Williams completely changed the way that I edit now that I'm editing. And the core principle in this book, by the book, because it's more than what I'm just talking about here, it's a good book, is that you should rewrite your book 7 times. And by rewriting, you have your completed manuscript. It's how I do it anyway. On the left hand of my screen. On the right hand of my screen, I have a blank document. And I am rewriting my book from start to finish. Now, I I will be the first to tell you I never make it through 7 revisions. I'm much too impatient for that. But for my most recent book, I made it through 3. And after rewriting that book 3 times, just doing nothing but you're starting by copying. right? You just copy what you've written, and as you're copying, you're going to pick up things and say, "Oh, I could reword this better. I should change this word. I should add a thing here," whatever. By the end of that 7th draft, like, you're gold. You're in really good shape. The book is more than just about that, but that's a core thing. So, that's what I would do differently from my first book is I would have done those things and made life a hell of a lot easier on myself. Instead of taking 2 years, it would have taken 6 months, 8 months, something like that.
I'm definitely gonna have a bestseller because this was my 8th draft.
Is it your, like, 8th rewrite?
It's not my 8th
Okay,
rewrite.
yeah.
I think it's my 2nd rewrite. So, I would have an outline. Yeah, that and
Yes.
and and that's exactly what I did for book 2. But I I've done it for book 2. I have an outline. It has changed multiple times already, and that's fine, but I know what I'm doing, and I know all of the beats, the big beats. I'm going to keep all of the big beats. Might lose some of those smaller ones, but I'm definitely keeping the big ones. This one, I had no clue what was happening. I had no clue what the ending was gonna be for, I don't know, 6 months after I started writing it. After I wrote the ending, I had no clue what was happening in the second half of it. And, it worked, but I feel like I could have done it in a way where the themes were more apparent to me
Mhm,
throughout, because
mhm.
I felt like I was constantly trying to find what the themes were. Now, after I got past the ending and came back to write the second half, I did start understanding what the themes were a lot better. And here's the thing, after I did, I think my 5th edit of it, I actually put in a new theme as part of that edit because it revealed itself as I was editing things, as I was chipping away at the marble. I saw something else, and I really liked that theme even more than what I'd had before. So
Mm.
then I had to go back and thread it through the entire book, but it takes so little to thread it through. You're only talking about a few sentences here and there to make these things work. They feel scary at the beginning. You're like, "Oh my god, I wanna do this thing, and it's gonna require so much work." No, it's not actually. I can tell you as somebody who's just done this full revision, a lot of these big fixes, what feel like big fixes, are just a few sentences.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can feel so monumentally impossible, but it really isn't. You can do this. You finished a goddamn book. So just keep going and finish the book. You can do it. So let's
Well
do some
said.
hot goss.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Oh, God. Okay. Well, I went back to threads because I hate myself. And, so today I stepped into the area of influencers, and in particular, an online influencer who has written a book, which is called That's a Great Question. No, I should say what her name is. It's Elyse Myers, and she gained notoriety with a video about a really bad date that she went on where she was conned into buying her date 100 Taco Bell tacos going through a drive-through. It's a very funny video. I will put it in the show notes. Kirk and I both came away wanting tacos really bad. And, she's cute, she's quirky. I think her brand is that she's supposed to be very relatable, and she's trying to promote compassion and mental health. She's promotes body positivity. Seems like a nice person. I don't know much
Yeah,
about her.
yeah, absolutely. Seems relatable. You know what? That came across as sarcastic too, and I didn't mean for it to be she sounds relatable.
Look, we're relatable too. And,
Yes.
and just like us, she's a podcaster. And, so she wrote this book. That's a great question. I'd love to tell you. I guess it's kind of snippets from her life, the sort of things that have gotten her well known on the internet. And it's had a mixed reaction. I wouldn't say a negative reaction, but look, people have opinions about books. That's just the way that it is. And one of her readers posted a review of the book saying, I didn't like it. It really wasn't for me. And Myers went into this reader space as an author, not knowing what we talked about last week about how authors should not be in reader spaces, and essentially said, you know what? It's okay. Like, not every book is for every person. I'll get you set up with a refund. Now, I'm going to tell you all of this so far is really a good story so far, isn't it? Yes.
I mean,
And
if
yeah,
you're going to go into reader space, like,
yeah,
this is one
it's
really
great.
positive way you could do it, right?
Yeah, and her
Yeah.
reader said, "Great," and
Mhm. They had a
this
very
was
pleasant exchange.
very pleasant. Everything about this is a very pleasant story. So
So, wow, it wasn't
why
really
are we
hot
here?
gossip at all, yeah.
No, no, it totally was hot gossip. So, this is a story about parasocial relationships, and in particular about how fans can identify so strongly with the objects of their fandom that they lose perspective on what is actually being said to their person, let's say, to, and in this case, Myers, where some it starts out this story starts out with some of her fans saying she shouldn't have that reader shouldn't have had such a bad viewpoint about Elise's book,
Mhm.
and defending her honor kind of thing. And yeah, okay, that's not right. This was a an exchange between two people who maybe they should have taken it into a private space. They didn't. Who cares? But then what you have happen is when you have people showing up for an author or an influencer, whomever, you then get backlash to those people who have been showing up. And in this case, that's exactly what happened. You had people supporting Myers saying she did absolutely nothing wrong, and I actually do believe that the only faux pas she had was getting into a reader space, with people pushing back saying, "No. Number 1, she should not have been in this space. Number 2, she is a really popular influencer. She should have known better. Everybody knows the rule that
Yeah.
authors don't go into reader spaces." Listeners, up until about a month ago, I did not know this at all. This was very new to me. I would imagine that this person, Myers, probably didn't know this as well. Things So many things in life where we are entrenched in a particular world with its own rules, we start forgetting that at one point we were noobs too, and we didn't know how things worked, and we had to observe. And if you are new to a space, you don't know how things work, and you're going to make mistakes. And yes, she made a mistake, but she dealt with it in a very positive way, and nobody was injured.
And
And
it's
yeah,
it's hard to call it a mistake too. I mean,
it
technically it
hardly
is a
feels
mistake.
like one.
It's hard to call it a mistake. She went into reader space, which slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
She had a nice conversation with somebody who reviewed her book poorly, right? And she offered her a refund. So, yeah, it's technically jaywalking. Okay, who's gonna arrest you for that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it seems unfair, and, I'm reading these comments, and I'm reading things like, "Well, she's so popular, she should know better. She's punching down." How is she punching down?
Yeah,
People
she
were
literally was
genuinely
not
saying
punching
that,
down. I
and
don't know
they're
if
like,
that's
"Well,
literally.
anybody who has"
Figuratively, was not punching.
figuratively, anybody who has a following that big, commenting on another person's account that is a relatively small account, that is apparently punching down. But then it's like, wait, but this is a person who has built her whole brand on being relatable and open and accessible to fans and not even fans yet. So she should not do these things because she's big. I had a disconnect and it was like, well, she obviously knows what she's doing and she's just doing this for content and she's doing it for the clicks. And it's like, do you live in her head? Like, it seemed to me very unfair to assume the worst in this situation, especially someone, and I am fully prepared to put myself, as I say on a podcast that I listen to, into the pot of shame if I am wrong about this and she's actually a terrible person. But what I've read about her is that she is not a bad person. She is trying to create supportive spaces. And then to accuse her of weaponizing that, I have some sort of disconnect here. I don't know. I'm an old, number one. I'm also not, terminally online. That might have something to do with it. But just the sheer number of words that people have written commenting about how wrong this person was. And I'm just like, friends, take those words and write a book. Just save yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
And it felt like it was without attacking her directly, it felt very bullying. to me, and you're not performing compassion in the way that I need you to perform it. And no, just no. And look, I said it last week. When you come and you give me a 2-star review, Kirk, I am going to laugh, number one. But, you know,
Megan, I will never give you a 2-star review. Sorry. Sorry
I'm
to
waiting.
burst your bubble.
No,
I'm
no,
not gonna give you a
no.
2-star
I want
review.
but listeners, when you give me your 2-star review, I will probably read it. I'll read it and I will
At least
probably laugh.
if you 2-star my book, saying there's this alternate universe where I'm actually published, if you 2-star my book, at least be creative in the comments,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
make me laugh. Yes.
Oh my god, like some of those wonderful epic Goodreads reviews that are,
Yeah, that's what I want.
10,000 words.
I want that screenshot to be shared far
Yeah.
and wide. Yes,
You want it on
absolutely.
Threads.
Yes, absolutely. I want somebody to be angry that I was punched down on.
Yeah. Yeah. Come on. Dream big, right?
That's right.
Be the main character on Threads for one day, but not about something bad that you've done beyond writing a really bad book. 2-star. There's something that's a little more cruel about 2 stars than 1 star. It's
I
like,
agree. I
yeah,
agree.
it's like, I had faith in you, but you let me down.
Or it's almost like, "I'm giving you 1 star because you tried."
It's like winning an ugly baby contest. So, you know, the main takeaway from today is that, as we've said over the course of the past 3 weeks, you can write a novel. Look, if these 2 schlubs wrote a novel, you can write a novel. He wrote 2. Come on. It's really hard, but you can do this. Your first novel is to some extent it's going to be practice, but it doesn't mean that it's unpublishable. I'm not saying it's going to be publishable, but it doesn't mean that it isn't. Okay? We have faith in you.
Yes.
And, next week, we are going to be talking about critique partners and writing groups. We have had different experiences in writing groups. I've had some great experiences. Kirk has had some not great experiences. And until then, you can find us on all of the socials at Badlit Friends. We are on Bluesky. We are on Instagram. We are on the foul cesspool of Hot Goss that is Threads. And we're on YouTube. We are at badlitfriends.com. And you can find us on pretty much every major podcast platform. And as always, like, subscribe, review. We've got 3 right now. Thank you again, Laura B. So until next week, we will see you then.
Bye.